It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is, by the way, episode 100 of the Rob Carson Show podcast. They said it wouldn't last. Actually, I think they actually said that it wouldn't begin at all, is what they said. It is the 100th episode. Thank you very much for joining me. We want to welcome our listeners at redmaryland.com. Also want to remind you that, of course, we are on YouTube, on iTunes, I should say, at the Rob Carson Show. And I don't think there could be anything better for a 100th show broadcast than inviting Christian Toto. For those of you who don't know, Christian Toto, you are a movie reviewer. You are also you analyze what's going on in Hollywood. You have had works featured just about everywhere. Editor for Breitbart. I've seen your work on National Review, PJ Media, The Federalist, among other things. You got a great website, HollywoodandToto.com. Your podcast makes mine sound like crap. You sound great. I mean, I really enjoy listening to you. But anyway, thanks for joining me on the show today. I really, really appreciate your time.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about this piece you forwarded to me the other day, and I've been through this. And this was on your website, among other places. Shock. Here's how Trump supporters lose acting gigs. Tell me about this, because Hollywood has always leaned left, but now it is a vitriolic, hating left, and I think an intolerance that we've never seen with regard to conservatism in Hollywood.
I agree. You know, this has been a problem for a while, but in the age of Trump, it's gotten much worse. And this particular story was a comedian from Silicon Valley talked about it on a podcast. He said, I was speaking to a casting director about, do you ever check those Instagram, messages when you're hiring people? Just kind of, I think he was kind of curious about what people do with their jobs and how social media affects things. And she said, we do. We'll make sure that they're not drunk all day. They're not crazy. They're not Trump fans, because if they are, well, then I'd have a hard time, she said. And she kind of trailed off there, but very, very clear what she meant. If someone's an actor trying to get a gig and they're a Trump fan, they have a pro-Trump message on their Instagram feed, maybe they don't get the gig.
Wow. And you think about this, normally you didn't need to say your political affiliation. But now you've got all of the Instagram, you've got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got everything. And even just a hint that you might not march to the marching orders of Hollywood and the left wing could prevent you from blacklist you, essentially.
Yeah, and if this was an isolated incident, I'd say, well, that's this guy kind of found a pretty intolerant person. But there are so many different stories across the media landscape showing how conservatives are not treated equally in Hollywood. They don't get gigs. They have to kind of hide what they believe in. Wow. Intolerance is very, very clear, and it's been this way. It's just getting worse now. It's getting much more obvious. And every year or so, there's a new story in a legitimate publication like LA Times recently, even the Hollywood Reporter, that will remark on it. But there's not much outrage. There's not much follow-up. It's just sort of, hey, guess what? If you're conservative in Hollywood, I think you're in trouble. But we're not too embarrassed by that. We're not too outraged. I mean, it's just intolerance, and what's the big deal?
In the piece, you also mentioned the cancellation of Last Man Standing. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the show. I maybe saw bits and pieces, but apparently it was it was doing quite well. It had an appeal to it, and I know that Adam Carolla had discussed it in a podcast. What it was all about, and he seemed to attribute at least part of it possibly to the conservative message of the show. What do you say about that?
It's hard not to think that. What Adam Carolla said, I think, is true. There are different factors involved with any show. The show is expensive to produce. I think the ownership wasn't as clear cut as with other programs, so I don't think ABC got as much money out of it as with other programs.
Yeah.
So there were some things you can point to, but when you have a show with a guy like Tim Allen, who's been, beloved for about 20, 30 years now, and the ratings in season 6 are rock solid, you don't give up on that show. That's gold. I mean, that's what broadcast TV wants. Those rock rib shows that have a crowd, have a following that you can count on and build around.
I don't know. ABC is a company that has to make money, and I I could see maybe with a late night talk show, but you don't cut something like that. Not when generally when it comes to making money, ideology be damned. But who knows? Who knows at this point? What do you think about Stephen Colbert? Speaking of late night television, and his just turn to the radical left, calling Trump's mouth a cock holster for Vladimir Putin. Well, what do you think about his turn to the really radical left in late night TV?
Well, a couple of thoughts. One is he's always been progressive, he's always been liberal, but it's never been so pronounced, so aggressive, so angry.
Yeah.
Right now, he's doing well in the ratings. There's a lot of folks out there who are extraordinarily angry at President Trump, and they want to see that kind of humor.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of holding my fingers in the air for humor because a lot of what Colbert says isn't even funny.
No.
Isn't even a joke. It's just mean-spirited political punditry disguised as a monologue. I mean, frankly, I find that the most offensive. Tell some jokes. Make us laugh. If you're going to slam Trump, I'll laugh at it if it's funny.
Yeah, but the other night, in front of his sycophantic audience, I remember he opened up his monologue and said a couple notes about Donald Trump. The first thing he said, other than he's a terrible president and he should be impeached. And it's not funny. The crowd's going, blah! I look at it as the late night shows, even like Rachel Maddow, liberals are turning to them as a form of therapy. That's really what I believe. I think it keeps them from going bat guano crazy over the fact that Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
I agree. I mean, I think this is an effective short-term strategy for the people like Colbert, because in 2 years, when things calm down, and I'm going to assume that they will calm down, there are a lot of people who might have given him a chance, who might say, yeah, he's liberal, I don't care, but he's kind of funny. He's got some good guests on tonight. I guarantee you there are many, many people who are like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't care about Colbert. I don't want to watch his show. He's dead to me as a political entertainer. And I feel that way about Saturday Night Live. I love that show. I grew up with it as a kid.
Yeah.
I used to make my mom, wake me up if I fell asleep before 11:30.
Yeah.
I don't care about that show. I cover it because it's my job.
Yeah.
But other than that, if I'm flipping the channels and it's on, there's no way I'd watch it.
Yeah,
that's a lifelong thing.
The other day on Twitter, I talked about Colbert and just the rudeness and the absolute vitriol and the profanity of him now. And I said, what would JC do? And I wasn't talking about Jesus Christ. I was talking about Johnny Carson. He was an insult. He's an insult to late night television. And what made it great was Steve Allen and Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, all of the ones who came before. And he's just made it mean and awful and ugly. So let's talk about some other.
It's exactly what you said. But this is a new world. This is a new template. This is a new late night TV. It's nothing like what we used to see.
All right. Let's talk about a couple other things real quick. I know you got to go. Roger Moore's passing. Where did you rank him as far as James Bonds were concerned?
That's a tricky question because I grew up with him. He was sort of the Bond of my youth.
Yeah.
But I also didn't like the sort of the jokey, quippy, gadget-heavy films. So. Listen, Sean Connery to me is the gold standard.
Yes.
and I think Daniel Craig has done a couple of very good films.
Yeah.
That said, I think Roger Moore really carried that character through 7 films. I think he epitomized the grace and the style and the brutality when it needed to be done.
Yeah.
So I think he did a wonderful job. Is he the best? I don't think so, but I think that takes away anything from what he achieved over 7 films. That's a very long stretch.
All right, one final note. Now you got to go. Pirates of the Caribbean has a new movie. It opens, I guess, on Friday. This is number 4, isn't it?
Number 5.
This is number 5. Oh, dear Lord in heaven! I understand this movie is so bad that it gets into the sunlight, it turns into a skeleton because it's that dead.
It actually starts out
the
very
moonlight.
promisingly, but the bottom line is that Johnny Depp is phoning it in at this point. There's nothing new or clever or cool or funny about Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
The lines are just dead on arrival, and whatever it was beginning to sound interesting at first, it just gets bloated and dull and over the top and just CGI on top of CGI. Listen, it's going to make money this weekend. That's why they keep making them. But boy, I consider it a very light form of torture.
Did you? The first one obviously was a terrific movie. Were there any other redeeming factors to the films that followed it? Really?
I think there have been sequences that have been kind of clever or interesting. And I think for a while, the Jack Sparrow character was a lot of fun. It was new. It was different. And it wasn't as front and center as it is now. I think he's kind of like the sidekick who gets to be in front of the camera now all the time. I think that hurts the whole project. But if you're not going to give him good, listen, Johnny Depp's a very talented guy. If you're going to give him very flat, boring lines that anyone could read, he can't breathe life into him. He's not a superhero.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what you get.
All right. Well, Christian Toto, thanks for joining me for the 100th edition of the Rob Carson Show podcast. Your website, of course, HollywoodandToto.com. Where can people find you on social media, my friend?
On at Hollywood in Toto on Twitter, and they can check out Spreaker and iTunes for the Hollywood in Toto podcast.
Very good. Have a glorious day, okay?
Happy 100.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. All right. There you go. Christian Toto. Very cool to have him on the show. This guy, honestly, he has legitimately inspired me as a podcaster. I have much to learn before I am, at Christian Toto's level. And he just does a great job. But man, HollywoodandToto.com, HollywoodandToto.com. He's got some great columns up there right now. And he's really cool. All right, so let's move on to what we're going to talk about now. There's plenty of stuff to get to on the 100th edition of the Rob Carson Show podcast. I want to thank our sponsors who've been here, since the beginning. I know it's only been like 5-6 months, but it's been very cool. And one of those sponsors is Grass Monsters KC. Grass Monsters KC, they do residential mowers. They do commercial mowers. They carry the Dixie Chopper brand. I have a Silver Eagle in my garage. It's an industrial commercial mower. It's spectacular. The Z2, which is a residential model. The Excalibur, which is the biggest one, and it is 70-inch deck. The Classic as well. All of these are terrific mowers. They're American-made. They last forever. They're built like a brick excrement house. And then also they have the Hustler line of mowers made in Kansas, including the Hustler Fast Track with a 4-year, 400-hour warranty on this thing. The Raptor SDX 3-year, 300-hour warranty. The Raptor Unlimited 3-year, no-hour limit warranty. They are incredible machines. Check out grassmonsterskc.com. That's grassmonsterskc.com if you're in the KC area. Otherwise, Google Dixie Chopper and Raptor mowers. They are absolutely fantastic. All right. Let's move on to some of the day's events. Today isn't going to necessarily be all political. We covered in episode 99 what happened at the Ariana Grande concert in London, or in Manchester, I should say. If you listen to it, if you haven't had a chance to listen to episode 99, it was very, very passionate, a lot of audio. And some coarse language, because I'm sick and goddamn tired, pardon me, of what this is doing, what ISIS is doing in the world, and it has to stop. It has to be wiped from the face of the earth. It cannot continue to exist. Well, Donald Trump, with all of his faults, has said to the leaders that be in the military, ISIS must be annihilated. He made it very clear in Saudi Arabia. It must be annihilated. Radical Islamic terror must be annihilated. That's it. That's all. The thing that saddens me the most, and I posted this yesterday on social media, was the fact that yesterday morning on Twitter, it was all about hashtag Ariana Grande, hashtag Manchester concert, hashtag this and that. Okay, it was all about that. Today, it's not even there. It's not even trending on Twitter. And this is a sad state of affairs. Yesterday, I'd shared a soundbite from an anchor in Great Britain who was talking to Morning Joe and said that basically you're going to have to get used to it. Just going to have to get used to terror like this. And I say bull crap. We can't just get used to it. It's got to be ended. It has to end. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and of course it's going to hit closer to home for me because, she's that age. She's she's not an Ariana Grande fan, but she's in that demo. There were kids who were going to their first concert with mom and maybe begrudgingly dad 2 nights ago. Blown to bits. There's one little girl, a guy rushed up on her, and she had both of her legs blown off. And the man went over to the vending place and grabbed Ariana Grande T-shirts and tied off the bleeding from her legs. And he said, where's your mom? And she said, Mom's up there. And she pointed up, and it appears that Mom may have been killed. It's just unbelievable. And it's got to stop. So, all right. You know what? Here's. Let's move on to something just a little icebreaker in the middle of the podcast here. You know, we had Christian Toto on, and for those of you, Roger Moore passed away over the weekend. He was 89 years old, so he had a very nice long life. He was in a bunch of the James Bond movies, Man with the Golden Gun, Moonraker, which I loved, For Your Eyes Only, Octopussy. God, I love it when they could name movies like that. Here's a little montage of Roger Moore as James Bond.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
But James, I need you.
So does England.
Yes, sir.
The lady'll have a Bacardi on the rocks.
For the gentleman, vodka martini, shaken, not stirred.
Touche. I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. So speak, or forever hold your peace. I must say you become more beautiful every day.
I am over here.
Well, of course you are.
Don't you like me?
I think you're wonderful, Bibi, but I don't think your Uncle Harry would approve.
Him? He thinks I'm still a virgin.
Yes, well, you get your clothes on. I'll buy you an ice cream. Forgive my curiosity, but what is that?
That's my little octopussy.
Forgive me, Father, for I have
Wow.
sinned.
That's putting it mildly, 007.
I love it. I love it. My personal favorite is Sean Connery. Sean Connery. I'll try and do my Sean Connery, Miss Moneypenny. Okay, maybe it's not that good. I think I'd do better as Sean Connery in The Hunt for Red October. Such a tragedy to slip on some tea. Okay. Have you noticed that Democrats have stopped talking a lot about Donald Trump's impeachment? I think it's coming to a reality. The reality is coming to Democrats that there's nothing impeachable. And I think that a lot of people are being waved off the impeachment thing. I have not heard hide nor hair, James Brown-esque hair, of Maxine Waters. Have you the last few days? They've not been talking about it. The only person I heard most recently, actually, Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter, I believe on Monday, said that he could be impeached eventually. I don't know why she says that. And she also thinks that there's going to be a wave election in 2018. I'm not willing to give it up to the Democrats because right now, it's not the average Democrat voter that is making all the noise. It is a bought and paid for protest movement in the country. It is a bought and paid for protest movement that is running the whole show. The opposition showing up town hall meetings, doing these idiotic protests. But it's kind of weird. Haven't had a protest in a couple of weeks. Not since the massive protest demanding that people see Donald Trump's tax returns, which nobody gives a rat's behind about. I won't say that the protest movement has jumped the shark because they'll find some sort of idiotic thing to protest. But maybe the whole nationwide protest to see Donald Trump's tax returns might have kind of fallen on its face. I'm just saying. Majority of American voters say there's no evidence of collusion, by the way, between members of President Trump's campaign and Russia. Most are doubtful that the investigations into the matter will lead to impeachment. According to Harvard-Harris survey, 54% of voters said they have not seen evidence to suggest that Trump campaign officials conspired with Moscow to influence the 2016 election. 80% of Republicans say there's no evidence of collusion. 74% of Democrats say there is. 38% of independents said there's no evidence of collusion. 54% of independents say they didn't think that there was a strong collusion, at least a collusion between the Russian government. And guys, I told you this before, and now many pundits are beginning to echo this. If there were evidence of collusion between the Russians and Donald Trump, it would have been uncovered before the damned election. By the way, one of the headlines of the day today is that the Barack Obama administration had been abusing the powers of surveillance of Americans for years, and that includes spying on political campaigns. So this went all the way to the top, all right? Went all the way to the top. And like I said, if it would have been heard by those on high that Donald Trump was colluding with the Russians to throw the election, it would have happened before the election. It's a joke. It's a lie. All right? Okay. For those of you who are interested in, a lot of people are doing college commencement speeches. New survey by the Conservative Young American Foundation. Top 100 colleges in the United States invited 45 liberal keynote speakers to commencement. You want to guess how many conservatives? 4. 4. Yeah. 29 of the speakers had an unclear ideological affiliation, while 22 schools either had various speakers, no primary speaker, the college president as a speaker, or had not yet announced a speaker. The 4 conservatives, in case you're wondering, Mike Pence, and I think 60 or 70 spoiled little snowflakes got up and marched out in their protest. I made this comment yesterday when Pence was speaking at Notre Dame. Welcome to the real world where nobody really gives a shit what you think. You may think that everybody feels that you're marching out as some sort of act of defiance that will get you some press coverage or whatever. Nobody will give a shit what you have to say when you graduate. Right? Israeli Ambassador Ron Dermer, sportscaster Ernie Johnson, and Tulsa, Oklahoma Mayor G.T. Bynum. Those are the conservative speakers that were featured at America's colleges. Here are some of the libs. Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, who, both of them strayed way into the political crap. Will Ferrell, Sheryl Sandberg, she's a Facebook COO. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, he's a case, and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Ugh. Media personalities included Jake Tapper, Brooke Baldwin, Christiane Amanpour, among others. So, that's what's happening on college campuses. Here's something that it should be of concern. I've been sitting on this for a few weeks, at least a week, I should say. A couple articles about what conservatives are facing now versus before. Christian Toto said, you will lose a job if people find, or never get a job if people find out you are a Trump supporter in Hollywood. Violence and intimidation against Republicans quickly becoming the new normal in an increasingly tense political climate. One of the most recent incidents, police in Tennessee charged a woman with felony reckless endangerment on Thursday for trying to run Republican Congressman David Kustoff off the road after a town hall. The woman, Wendy Wright, was reportedly enraged over Kustoff's support for the American Health Care Act and screamed at the congressman in the stage, striking his car windows and reaching inside the vehicle. Police in North Dakota escorted an enraged man from another town hall after he became physical with Republican Representative Kevin Cramer over support for the health care replacement. And by the way, these are bought and paid for people. They are bought and paid for. They are generally communists. They are socialists. Huffington Post article showed how to really turn up the heat on elected officials. It was an article. The author, Michelangelo Signorile, called on protesters to harass Republicans at dinner while they're out shopping, even at home. This is pretty sickening. Quote from the article, it's time to move beyond polite protests within specified boundaries. It's time to escalate the expression of our outrage and our anger in a massive way. Starting today and from here on, no elected officials, certainly those in the GOP defending and supporting Trump on a variety of issues, for example, should be able to sit down for a nice quiet lunch or dinner at a Washington, D.C. eatery or even go even in their own homes. See, this is the hate speech, okay? This is the effing hate speech that they keep talking about on campus. This is the dangerous crap. This is fomenting rage and creating a mob mentality that could be dangerous. That is hate speech. This is not protected by the First Amendment. This sort of shit is not protected by the First Amendment. Here's the problem on college campuses. Their definition of hate speech is hate, or speech that they hate. Okay, that's the difference. It's not hate speech. What Ann Coulter says is not hate speech. What Milo Yiannopoulos says is not hate speech. What Ben Shapiro says is not hate speech. But it's speech that the left hates, and therefore it is hate speech. I hate it, therefore it is hate speech. Thank you. Trademark 2017, copyright Rob Carson. There you go. Came up with that myself. Republicans fearing for their safety as anger and threats mount. Another article. The FBI arrested a man threatening Representative Martha McSally's life. A woman pursued Representative David Kustoff, Republican Tennessee, and Republican Tom Garrett, Republican Virginia. Heightened security town hall event in response to death threats. Other Republicans still holding town halls say they haven't felt physically threatened by protesters, but they worry about the depth of anger from some constituents in the polarized environment and what it means for political civility. Bring it, bitches. That's what I say to leftists in this country. All right? These are the people who you are not armed intellectually better than conservatives, and you certainly aren't armed physically as well as conservatives. You see, you preach Second Amendment control. Who's more likely to be concealed carry, folks? Who's more likely, a lib or a conservative? Who would you sooner mess with? Say every one of these Republicans ought to conceal carry. Representative Dave Bratt, Republican Virginia, described attendees at a town hall in his district last week who booed him down after he had after he said people's rights are God-given. I had the audio for this. They were in a church, and they booed when he acknowledged God. They booed God. They booed the pastor. They booed the prayer. They booed the name of the church. They booed when I said rights came from God. See, they don't understand. That's the Constitution. That's what it says, and you abide by it, or get your ass out of the country. He says that's a fundamental tenet of Western civilization. I mean, I didn't think it was partisan. Well, it is with these assholes. Further north, New Jersey Republican Tom MacArthur faced pushback from a crowd when he began telling the story of his special needs daughter who died at the age of 11. Shame, people shouted. We've heard this story. There's no civility. They boo the Pledge of Allegiance. F them. They're socialists. It's just sickening. Okay, let's move on to a little bit of campus madness today. If we're going to do the 100th edition of the show, a little campus madness might be good. And you know what I might do as well? As my gift to you, I think that I will play a little bit of comedy, some of my syndicated comedy. Let me look through my computer here and see what I have here that might be kind of fun as far as comedy is concerned. One of the things that I do is I've written syndicated comedy for Rush Limbaugh, among others. And if I can find where my wife has hidden all my comedy on my computer, then I'll run some comedy for you. I think it might be kind of fun. But first, let's do some of the campus madness. This is a private school. This is not actually it is a campus, but it's not a college campus. One of Britain's top private schools is bringing in gender-neutral uniforms that would allow boys to wear skirts, as teachers report growing numbers of children questioning their gender identity. A major psychologist came out a couple weeks ago and said, this is what kids do when something becomes popular. All right? This is a trend. These kids have no idea what they're about gender identity. They just see it talked about a lot, and they say, "Okay, we'll do it." That's the way kids are. Moved by Highgate School in North London comes as activist pupils at schools across the country are demanding gender-neutral bathroom facilities, a ban on terms they deem sexist, and for teachers to use gender-neutral pronouns such as they. I wouldn't want to be called they. That would mean that I'm bigger than two people. This generation is really questioning such being binary in the way we look at things. Head teacher Adam Pettit told the Sunday Times. Separate uniforms for boys and girls will be scrapped under the bans. I'd pull my kids' ass out of that school. Highgate's current uniform policy allows female pupils to wear trousers, dark blue jackets, and ties. but boys can't choose to wear the gray pleated skirts that make up part of the girls' uniform. They're gonna ruin, Oops, I Did It Again, that video. They're gonna ruin it for the rest of us. Britney Spears from, 15 years ago? By the way, T.S. Eliot went to school there. Some people are saying, no, including cricketer Phil Tufnell. They write in and say, if you left children to their own devices, they would grow up differently, and you are promoting the wrong ideas. And I agree, it's bullcrap. Politically correct bullcrap. Things are really bad at the University of Missouri. They are facing a $15 million, between $15 and $20 million budget shortfall. All right? Officials at Mizzou have announced a plan to cut approximately 400 jobs, raise tuition in the face of the projected 7.4% plunge in student enrollment, and a $14.7 million state budget cut. The University of Missouri's campus in Columbia employs 13,000 professors, administrators, and other employees. Isn't that a little top-heavy? Well, you got 35,000 students and you have half as many staffers. Really? Protests, of course, started by this idiotic group, Concerned Student 1950, which was led by Jonathan Butler, the son of a millionaire railroad executive. He went on a hunger strike and convinced 32 black Mizzou football players to boycott all team activities. Melissa Click threatened a student cameraman. Remember that? Screw Mizzou. Unless they get a chancellor in there who says to these idiots, get your asses to your classes, copyright 2017 Rob Carson, coming to a T-shirt near you, by the way. Get your asses to your classes. Landlords are suffering in Columbia, Missouri. The race-fueled protests at the University of Missouri took a huge bite out of enrollment, of course. Student population dropped 35% since the fall of 2015. Local landlords offering $1,000 gift cards or major rent reductions. Recent Columbia City Council report found that the vacancy rate has risen to almost 10% in Columbia. So, there you go. Way to go. Way to go, guys. Your faux protest is ruining Missouri. And I tell you, I lived in Columbia, Missouri for a while, and I would never send my kid there. Never send my kid there. Here's another one. This is political correctness and finally getting what it deserves. Mills College, an all-girls school in Oakland, California, became the first all-girls school to begin admitting transgender males in 2014. Now they're facing a financial backlash. The school declared a financial emergency this week amid a massive budget shortfall, which college administrators said would lead to a round of layoffs. According to Inside Higher Ed, Mills is currently running a $9 million budget deficit, which equates to 16% of the school's $57 million annual budget. Looks like that Mills president Elizabeth Hillman expects to lay off 35 faculty members. Prior to the transgender policy change in 2014, the college received 1,827 student applications, admitted 1,242, and enrolled 217. But 1 year later, the school received only 839 student applications, admitted 639, and enrolled 139. Goodbye. 2014, the previously all-female college changed the undergrad admissions to allow men who self-identify as female to apply. Quote, Mills shall not discriminate against applicants whose gender identity does not match their assigned legal sex. This includes students who are not assigned to the female sex at birth but live and identify as women at the time of application. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mills. All right. You know, I have some more campus madness, but I'm going to sit on it. And I've got a sad story, but I'm going to sit on that too. And let's, as part of the 100th anniversary, the 100th podcast, I thought I'd share some comedy with you. How does that sound? We just do some produced comedy. But for those of you who don't know, I started writing for Rush Limbaugh right out of college and wrote for Mr. Limbaugh for a number of years. And it was a real treat. I wrote really for him until Kit Carson died a couple of years ago. Kit was the gatekeeper for the show. And it was a real honor. And since then, I've written for every major comedy network for radio in the country. And I'm going to share some of those offers. I'm going to share the first bit I did for Rush here. In around 1990, there was a thing called the Capitol Hill Bank scandal. And what happened was there was a bank on the Capitol that was just to be used by Capitol Hill representatives, senators, and I believe staffers. And the bank's rules were so lenient, so lax, that you could go there, you could write checks on money that wasn't there and not even have to pay it back. There were tens of thousands of dollars in the hole. Don't worry about it. It's just the Capitol Hill Bank. So I wrote this parody. I am in the parody as the guy behind the counter at the bank. Here it is, my first bit for Limbaugh, long time ago.
And now, another Capitol Hill Bank moment.
I'm working behind the counter at the bank when in comes another freshman congressman. He puts $500 into his new checking account. Boy, you should have seen the look on his face when I told him that $500 in a Capitol Hill checking account is unheard of. Congressmen never keep that kind of money in the bank.
So this kindly teller tells me my $500 is worth $60,000 to $100,000 in check writing privileges. Until that moment, I never realized how much I was going to love living in Washington.
Capitol Hill Bank for personal service.
I like to really get involved with my customers. Why, once a congressman called me from this big drinking party he was throwing. Said he needed some more checks. So I went to his party with a box of checks. Why, he even paid for that party with one of those checks. I felt like I really made a difference.
I don't remember much about that party, but I do remember my Capitol Hill Bank associate. He really saved me. You know, people like Ted Kennedy can rack up quite a bar tab. Capitol Hill Bank made me look like I had money and influence. You don't get that kind of treatment from a bank very often. Capitol Hill Bank.
Capitol Hill Bank for worry-free checking.
If I get named, that kid's going down with me.
Capitol Hill Bank, member FLEECE, a special privilege lender.
All right, so I did that for Rush. I think I wrote it when I was 24 years old, and it ended up being in his first book. So it was kind of cool. I'll play you some Rush stuff, and then I get some other stuff as well that is not necessarily political. And I think you will, like I said, enjoy it, share it, download it, et cetera, et cetera. Here's one I did. This is another one. Now, on Rush's show, everybody calls Al Gore, Al Gore, Al Gore. He calls it Al Gore, okay? And the reason being is I did a parody. I believe this was as Clinton was running for his first term in office. And he kept talking about invest in America, and we're going to invest in America. And what that meant was tax increases. Investing in America, and this is how the Clintons twist the language. So I put together a bit. This was right when Bram Stoker's Dracula had come out. It had Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise in it. It was an okay movie. And I decided to do Count Taxula. Here it is.
In a castle deep in the heart of Pennsylvania, there lives an evil as old as the Democratic Party itself. Paramount Pictures presents Bill Clinton in Taxula.
Count Taxula, arise! It is I, your faithful servant, Al Gore. Your agenda requires that you feed.
Thank you, Al Gore. Have you raised the cafe standards?
Yes, Master.
Shredded my draft records?
Yes, Master.
Good, good. Then I am off.
Happy hunting, Master.
He lays in waiting until his hunger calls. Then he pounces on anyone who makes over $36,000 per year, sucking the lifeblood out of every American taxpayer.
Sir, we found his paycheck lying here, drained of every penny.
How could anyone do this in good conscience? It's inhuman.
All the while, using his charisma and slick character to hypnotize his victims.
Just look into your television. Invest in America. Invest in America. Invest.
Bill Clinton is Taxula. He sleeps in the daytime and has been known to prowl at night.
Oh, Willie, do that again.
Bill Clinton is Taxula.
Come on, Al Gore. Let's go to Congress. I'm hungry.
Now, by the way, in Capitol Hill Bank, the senator, and in Count Taxula, the police officer, both voiced by Bruce Jones. Bruce Jones, one of my mentors as a comedy writer. And he was absolutely terrific. And he lives in Kansas City. He sells weather radios now. He was a meteorologist here in Kansas City as well. I'll play one more from the Clinton era. When the first Jurassic Park came out, I decided to make fun of people who go to Congress and spend their entire lives there. And I said that was what the whole theme of the last election was. People are sick and tired of people going to Washington, D.C. and spending their entire lives telling us how to live ours. So you're going to hear some names who are no longer living or no longer in Congress, but here is my version of Jurassic Park Congress style.
This summer, you can take your family to the only place on Earth where living fossils roam in their natural environment. Congressional House Pictures presents Steven Spielberg's Geriatric Park.
Stand back there, Billy. It's 2 o'clock. Senator Metzenbaum could wake up at any minute.
Scientists have cloned the cells of New Deal Democrats, and despite their harmless appearance, they can be extremely dangerous.
Oh my God, Tom Foley is coming toward me. What do I do?
Don't worry. They never attacks you when you stand totally still. Stare into his eyes and hand him your checkbook.
Geriatric Park, where disaster awaits at every corner.
Hey, Jerry, where the heck is your wife?
She fell into the entitlement tar pits.
Oh, jeez, that's it. Well, at least the government will cover those funeral expenses, huh?
Oh, good point.
Geriatric Park, home of the frightening Barney Francus Liberalis, the Carol Mosley Brontosaurus, and who could forget their leader, the granddaddy of them all.
What the heck is that?
Oh my God, it's the Arkansaurus Tax and Spendus.
Geriatric Park, because no matter how many years pass, some things always stay the same. Coming soon to a theater near you.
All right, there's Geriatric Park. You know, I should play. I'll play one more from the Clinton era because I think it's good. When The Lion King came out, I decided to do a parody about Bill Clinton and obviously his issues with telling the truth.
Whitewater Pictures presents the year's biggest blockbuster, a story of a young cub destined for infamy. Bill Clinton is the Lion King.
I will accept nothing less than universal coverage for 100% of the animal population. Did I say 100%? Well, what I meant to say was 95%.
Bill Clinton is Scamba, the Lion King, a leader guided by his natural instinct to cover up the truth and guided by the spirit of his departed father.
Scamba, you will never, ever be a truly great president.
What do you mean, JFK? I try real hard. I feel their pain. Sure, I don't have any foreign policy, but what's holding me back?
Scamba, you will never be great because you lie all the time.
I don't lie all the time.
Scamba, you're hopeless.
I don't lie most of the time.
Join Scamba and his friends, the media hyenas, as they trudge across the American savannah, along with Scamba's constant companion, Al Gorilla.
Mr. President, where's your pride? Oh, Al Gorilla, they're back in Arkansas. Let's see, there's a blonde, a brunette, a redhead, and this girl up the road. And my cousin.
It's a jungle out there.
We all know who the real king of the jungle is around here, don't we, Willie?
Yes, dear.
Bill Clinton is the Lion King.
You'll love it. I promise. No, I swear, man. No, I'm not kidding. No, really, you'll like it. I know you will. It'll be absolutely free.
All right, there it is.
No, man, I wouldn't kid you.
Now that, by the way, is Paul Shanklin doing the voice work, and Paul went on to work kind of solo with Rush over the years, but we worked together, for a few years together when it first started. So that's some of the older stuff. And then we moved on through other administrations, and again, it wasn't all political. Here's one I actually did that most people don't know about. And I decided, I try to make fun of, mostly I make fun of liberals, but I did do something for Newt Gingrich. I think this is around 1994, 95, because he did the Contract in America, and everybody was saying that he was mean and all this stuff. So I decided to do this around Christmas time.
You're
a foul one, Mr. Gingrich. You say things you shouldn't say. You have all the tact of Rush Limbaugh at an all-you-can-eat buffet, Mr. Gingrich. The three words that best describe you are as follows, and I quote, brute, snoot, newt.
Okay, so there you go. I did that with Rusty Humphreys. He produced it for me. He's a syndicated talk show host now. And we did that together at TM Century. Well, you didn't need to know that crap. All right, here's a parody I did when Barack Obama was running for president the very first time. And, if you're like, if you followed him, he never says anything, really. When he was campaigning, it's hope and change. What the hell does that mean? Hope and change doesn't fill my wallet, doesn't give me a job. So I decided to take advantage of the fact that he really didn't say anything while campaigning.
I'm voting for Barack Obama because I believe in the future.
A vote for Obama is a vote for the future.
Because the future is ahead of us, and the past has come before us, and the future is yet to come.
A vote for Obama is a vote for hope.
I believe Obama believes in hope and hopes for a future filled with hope.
If you believe that change can't happen if you don't do something, vote Obama.
I believe that we, U.S. Americans, want change, and Obama will change things and not leave us unchanged.
If you believe the future is not now and not in the past, vote Obama.
The past is like history, and that is so like yesterday.
If you hope there's a candidate that believes in hope, vote for Obama. If you believe that Obama believes in everything you believe in, vote for hope. Vote for change. Vote Obama.
All right, kids, so tell me, what is unique about that parody? It says nothing. It says absolutely nothing. Kind of like the Seinfeld show. It's about nothing, and that's what it was all about. So that was it. A couple years ago, I put together a parody about Barack Obama and the southern border. This is at the beginning of when the wave really started, and we realized that he was going to basically allow people to stream in wholesale. So I decided to open a restaurant.
If you're looking for the real south of the border experience, then sneak into Los Aligalos and place your order today.
Welcome to Los Aligalos. Can I take your order?
Yes, I want free health care, a job, I want to protest in the streets, and I want the entire Southwest U.S. returned to its rightful owner, Mexico.
Are you here legally?
That's none of your business.
And right now in Los Aligalos, you can try our new chicken soft border taco. With a tortilla so thin, you can see right through it. No ID, no problem. In the country illegally, no problem. Just cut in line in front of everyone else.
Jace, I'd like a La Raza tostada.
Hey, I've been waiting in line here for 10 years.
Hey, tell that to Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi.
Bring the whole gang to Los Aligalos and order our MS-13 special. Order a dozen tacos and we'll throw in one free.
Viva Los Aligalos!
Wear your American flag t-shirt inside out and get a free entry.
That's entree?
Oh, yeah. Now open 24 hours in all border states. Arizona is subject to change.
Now, the big voice there. The big announce voice is Johnny Donovan. And I worked with Johnny for a number of years. He is retired. He still does some work with Rush occasionally. But anyway, that's the big voice there. A couple of the voices in there in that parody. Tommy McFly works in D.C. and radio at 94.7 the Fresh FM, and another guy named Fernando Macchiavello, a.k.a. Spanky. Here's a generic ad. And I wrote this around the election season. I think it might have been 2010. And I noticed that there are a lot of these institutional ads on, and they're really just a bunch of crap. And like you'll see these videos like liberals, and they'll do this rapid fire cut of celebrities saying nonsense and then coming together in the end. And I decided to make fun of institutional ads. And by the way, the kid in the very end is my son Will. At the time, I think he was 12 years old.
This is an institutional ad.
Institutional ad. Featuring lots of different people.
From different walks of life.
Or maybe different ethnic groups.
It could be an advocacy.
Advocacy ad for a political cause.
Or a company trying to rebuild its tarnished image.
Like BP.
Or GM.
Or maybe a politician trying to rebuild his reputation after an affair.
Or lying about his military service.
It's supposed to fool you into believing no matter what the cause.
That we're all in this together.
Together.
But really, it's probably just a load of BS.
Paid for by a front group
Or by union dues taken from its members regardless of their political affiliation.
or a nonprofit with an acronym that spells something like
Care or hope.
There you go. Now, those are just voices from people around the office. Just people I grabbed. I said, okay, come here. I need you to say this. I need you to say this. And then, of course, on the very end, that was my son saying, yeah, it's probably just a load of BS. So there you go. All right. Here's one that I kind of made fun of people who drive hybrids. I really hate self-righteous hybrid drivers, especially the ones who have the bumper stickers, coexist and make love not war, and war is not the answer, and all that crap. By the way, I on my swag line, I turn those upside down on T-shirts, on hoodies, on bumper stickers. For instance, I have one that says war. Sometimes war is the answer. I have one with the coexist sticker in the middle. And it says you can't coexist with someone to kill you. You can see those at Teespring and TeePublic. TeeSpring.com and TeePublic.com. Just look for Conservatees. Here's where I made fun of hybrid buyers and those who would aspire to be hybrid buyers but can't afford them.
So what kind of car do you have?
Well, I have a hybrid.
Wow, a hybrid. I'd love to have a hybrid.
What? You don't have a hybrid?
You can't afford a hybrid, yet you want the same feeling of moral superiority that hybrid owners have.
Yeah.
Well, now you can with new Earthocentric Hybrid Decals.
Awesome!
Earthocentric decals are made to look like a real hybrid car decal and can be placed on any car, truck, or van. Simply apply your hybrid decal, and you'll be looking down your nose at non-hybrid drivers in no time.
Nice SUV there, buddy. What kind of mileage you get with that? Probably not as good as my hybrid.
And if you order today, we'll also include your choice of annoying, self-important liberal bumper stickers, including arms are for hugging, visualize world peace, meat is murder, or the word coexist spelled in religious symbols.
So, how do you like my hybrid?
I didn't know 73 VWs came in a hybrid model.
It's aftermarket.
Earthocentric Hybrid Decals turn any car into a vehicle that makes you feel good about yourself and so superior.
There you go. That one I kind of beat people over the head with it. There was no doubt where I was coming from with regard to hybrid drivers. Let's see what else we got here. I think maybe I should play something that is not political. How about that? Something that is not political. Oh, here's one. Here's what I did. This is this is another Rush bit. And I noticed years ago that if you watch the news every night, there's a different disease or disorder, or a new statistic about diseases or disorders, and a certain percentage of the American population that have them. And if you ended up adding up all of the diseases and disorders, then each of us, we got to have at least 10 of them, right? I always said I don't want to be as sick as people who watch the nightly news, because if you watch the nightly news, every other commercial, I can't get I can't get a boner. I've got osteo, whatever. I've got heart disease, and all that. So what about the people who in this environment are completely healthy and have no mental or physical problems?
Everybody I know is being treated for something.
Do you feel left out?
My best buddy is bipolar. My kids have ADHD. My wife has adult anxiety.
Do you feel isolated?
I talked to psychologists, psychotherapists, even a psychic, but nobody could figure it out.
Looking for answers?
They all told me there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. I was crushed.
You might have disorder anxiety disorder, syndrome caused by the realization that you are completely normal. Ask your doctor about Placebex or Nothing and All, so you can have a syndrome to call your own. Placebex and Nothing and All, new from SmithKline Blarney.
That ran for, in fact, it still actually runs on Rush's show. A lot of the stuff that a lot of the times, my stuff runs it runs every day. And what it does is, if it's not timely, it runs during commercial breaks. And when radio stations don't have inventory, and they have to actually run Rush, how do I say this? They don't have any commercials to fill, so you will hear my parody when they don't have a commercial. All right? So, and when the board ops who are running my show, for instance, when they are running my show, they hear it in cue. They hear it off air all the time. So my comedy runs all the time. Just not, if it's not timely or topical. All right, I'm going to do one more bit. And this is one of the last bits I did for Rush a couple years ago when the government sequester was a possibility. And the Democrats were going absolutely batshit crazy, basically saying the world was going to end if the government shut down. And one of the things that the Obama administration did is they had tens of thousands of signs and barricades ready to go for the shutdown. And this included at national parks. This included at monuments. This included the National Mall. On the National Mall, the Obama administration attempted to keep World War II veterans who are knocking on death's door from seeing the World War II memorial. They had signs up there. And here's the most sickening thing about it. Normally at the World War II Museum, they have one, maybe two officers there to protect. While the sequester was happening, there were at least 10 there. They had 2 police on horseback to keep people from seeing the Vietnam Veterans Wall, for Christ's sake. This is nothing more than a wall with a sidewalk in front of it, but they actively kept family members from coming up and doing a rub on the names so they could take it home with them. Absolutely sickening. So I right about the same time, James Bond movie Skyfall came out. And I decided to do a version of Skyfall that Rush featured on his show. This will be the last parody we hear today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Here it is, Skyfall.
Now, if Congress allows this meat cleaver approach to take place, it will jeopardize our military readiness. Border Patrol agents will see their hours reduced. FBI agents will be furloughed. Federal prosecutors will have to let criminals go. Thousands of teachers and educators will be laid off.
This is the end.
I'm not here to scare people. I'm here to inform.
Obama says if we don't spend.
I don't think we can maintain the same security.
Democrats, they will not bend.
These cuts are not smart.
Budget cuts, they are a sin. For this is the end.
They will add hundreds of thousands of Americans to the unemployment rolls.
Kids will die if we don't spend.
They are not fair. They will hurt our economy.
China knows we owe them.
People will lose their jobs.
From future kids we've stolen.
Buy a shotgun.
Let the sky fall. Let it crumble. We will stand tall and tell the dams to shove it. Let the sky fall. Sequester all. Let the sky fall. Tell the dams to shove it. Sky fall. Let the sky fall. Let the sky fall. The sky fall. The sky fall. Sequester all.
Over 170 million jobs could be lost.
Yeah, and then, of course, Maxine Waters, who is dumb as a box of rocks without the rocks. By the way, the vocalist on that is a wonderful person. Her name's Mir Milliken. She lives in Cincinnati, Ohio, with her husband, Bill. I've been doing satire with them for a number of years. Michael Piercy, who is the producer for the Chris Plant nationally syndicated show, added the hysterical Democrat sound bites on that. Give credit where credit is due. See, I don't produce. I write and I do voices. So I, hire great people around me to help me out, and they do an awesome job. And I want to credit all of them for doing that. And I want to credit you, yes, on this 100th edition of the Carson Show podcast, as my dog barks in the background, because this is such a professional operation. Make sure to check out my social media pages at Facebook at Rob Carson Show. Twitter, it's Rob Carson. I want to thank our sponsor, which, of course, is Grass Monsters KC. Don't forget they have terrific mowers, including the Hustler and the Dixie Chopper, and they are at grassmonsterskc.com. Also on my conservative swag line, T Public and T Spring, TEE Public, TEE Spring. And again, the dogs are barking in the background. It just figures on the 100th episode. This would happen. Just look up Conservatees. Have a blessed day. I hope you enjoy it, and please share with others the podcast, will ya? And we will see you for the next 100 of the Rob Carson Show podcast. Take care.
Thanks for listening to The Rob Carson Show. Friend him on Facebook at Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and on Instagram, I think Facebook and Twitter are enough for now. We'll see you soon.